that Harry Peake decided to become an actor. After he finished high school and served a stint in the Army, Harry moved to Los Angeles and started dreaming. He began dropping the phrase, "when I'm a movie star," into his conversations. He always said when, and not if. For him, it was a statement of fact rather than speculation. Although they never actually saw him in any television shows or movies, his family was under the impression that during his time in Hollywood, Harry landed some promising parts. His father told me Harry was on a medical show, maybe General Hospital, and that he had roles in several movies, including The Trial of Billy Jack. IMDb, the world's largest online database for movies and television, lists a Barry Peake, a Perry Peake, a Harry Peacock, a Barry Pearl, and even a Harry Peake of Plymouth, England. But there's nothing at all listed for a Harry Peake of Los Angeles. As far as I can tell, the only time Harry Peake appeared on screen was on the local news in 1987, after he was arrested for setting the Los Angeles Central Library on fire, destroying almost 500,000 books and damaging 700,000 more. It was one of the biggest fires in the history of Los Angeles, and it was the single biggest library fire in the history of the United States. Central Library, which was designed by the architect Bertram Goodhue and opened in 1926, is in the middle of downtown Los Angeles, at the corner of 5th Street and Flower, on the downslope of a rise once known as Normal Hill. The hill used to be higher, but when it was chosen as the site of the library, the summit was clawed off to make it more buildable. At the time the library opened, this part of downtown Los Angeles was a busy neighborhood of top-heavy, half-timbered Victorians, teetering on the flank of the hills. These days, the houses are gone, and the neighborhood consists of dour, dark office towers standing shoulder to shoulder, casting long shafts of shade across what is left of the hill. Central Library is an entire city block wide, but it is only 8 stories high, making it sort of ankle height compared to these leggy office towers. It projects a horizontality that it probably didn't in 1926, when it debuted as the high point in what was then a modest, mostly 4-story tall city center. The library opens at 10 a.m., but by daybreak there are always people hovering nearby. They lean against every side of the building, or perch half on and half off the low stone walls around the perimeter, or array themselves in postures of anticipation in the garden northwest of the main entrance, from which they can maintain a view of the front door. They watch the door with unrewarded vigilance, since there is no chance that the building will open earlier than scheduled. One recent warm morning, the people in the garden were clustered under the canopy of trees and beside the long, trickling watercourse that seemed to emit a small breath of chilled air. Rolling suitcases and totes and book bags were stashed here and there. Pigeons the color of concrete marched in a bossy staccato around the suitcases. A thin young man in a white dress shirt, a hint of sweat wringing his underarms, wobbled on one foot, gripping a file folder under his arm while trying to fish a cell phone out of his back pocket. Behind him, a woman with a sagging yellow backpack sat on the edge of a bench, leaning forward, eyes closed, hands clasped. I couldn't tell if she was napping or praying. Near her stood a man wearing a bowler hat and a too small t-shirt that revealed a half-moon of shiny pink belly. 2 women holding clipboards herded a small, swirling group of kids toward the library's front door. I wandered over to the corner of the garden, where 2 men sitting by the World Peace Bell were debating a meal they'd apparently shared. "You have to admit that garlic dressing was good," one of the men was saying. "I don't eat salad."